Les has the calmest energy, and everyone's like super frantic. We have to meet. You're in your White Lotus season 3 era right now. You seem very calm.
I've seen season 1 yet.
Les, what do you do? Lift that mic up. What do you do outside of just thinking about football 24 hours a day? Do you have time for other things?
I try to come up with a hobby. I just fail miserably.
What's the other hobby? Potentially. Give me the...
I'm very boring, so I've got to exercise.
Yeah.
So as long as I get that in, then everything else is a bonus.
How much of a bond is the working out with you and Sean McVay, who had another viral clip of him doing some sort of a...
I'm getting jealous of Sean in that I used to feel like I was strong. Now, again, he's got about 15 years on me. But now with him and Witt going and Ryan Sorensen, and I'm kind of more in my own garage doing, new age stuff.
Okay.
I feel really weak.
What's the new age stuff you're doing?
I'm always going to do some version of running, biking, and now I'm going to dabble in the lifting weights.
Okay.
But if I think I mentioned one time on the story, I used to work out with Ryan Sorensen,
okay,
who Witt hired, trains with them, and it was one of those intense. You go in there 45 minutes. I used to want to throw up doing just warming up with the bands. He would put these bands on. We're doing these ankle walks and I was like, Ron, you know what? I can't do this. I did that. I can't do it anymore.
Well, you look great. You're feeling great. You have a very cool, low-key vibe to you today. And there's so much to talk to you about. What a big F you since the last time I saw you. Last time I saw you was in L.A. training camp. Everyone's talking about the Niners. Everyone's talking about a rebuild. Why isn't rebuild in your vocabulary? You're doing it wrong.
Well, number one is we're all competitive. So you're not going to ever say, let's just rebuild. I think, though, reasonably rationally, we did when let's call it post-Super Bowl. I always called it a remodel because we had one of the more important players on the team coming back, the QB. How many teams would love to have a bona fide QB? So it wasn't like, we're in that era where our QB just left and now we're looking for the next one. That was probably the most important, probably rational, reasonable reason that we weren't rebuilding. Maybe we were retooling, remodeling.
No, I remember having a card just like this, and it had San Francisco, and then it had rebuild, then it had whole of Aaron Donald, impossible to fill, and then you went and FU'd everyone again.
Aaron Donald is possible to fill.
I mean, you did it. You did your thing.
I think I mentioned it. We did. It probably took 5 top 100 picks to replace Aaron Donald. So we did a first rounder for Jared Verse. We did 2 second rounders for Fisk because we traded up. We did a third rounder for Kobe Turner and a third rounder for BY. So it's 4 players, 5 top 100 picks to replace Aaron Donald.
I think you're giving GMs who rebuild and the culture of rebuilding a bad name. I think you're making it impossible.
I think I mentioned to someone, realistically, sometimes because we were cleaning up, let's call it our salary cap, there is an element in football. We're probably all scared to say, let's intentionally go do that. But when you're forced to, for the long-term, let's call it health, sustainability of the program, you're just forced to. And sometimes you're like, wait a minute, we can do that. But if you would have just sat down and said, let's do it, I think we all get a little nervous and say, you know what, no, let's try to run it back one more year.
Yeah, you're a Super Bowl champion. You're a made man. You have nothing to prove. And we're talking to Sean. I interviewed him at training camp. Talked to you a little bit on the side. But he seemed really motivated by people are overlooking us. It was visceral. I felt it from him. How big of a part of your story and fuel is that? Or do you feel that at all?
I really don't. I think what ends up happening, it's interesting. I'm not sure the neat thing is we're in the NFL. We're here.
It's pretty neat. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's one of the top entertainment, right? Let's call it industries, game theories, whatever we're doing here. Reality television shows on the planet. But when you do go and show up on a Sunday and play, and they're going to keep score, and it's simple math. Whoever has the most points at the end wins the game. I think at that point it doesn't really matter how many people are watching or were at the stadium or who texts you or not or tweets about you after the game. It's really in that moment when that buzzer, whatever it is, clock goes to 0. There's something about competing at that level that really probably turns us all on in a sense.
We are here, and the Breakers is behind you. We'll be in another hotspot travel destination in a couple of weeks, Green Bay. You'll be in your war room.
Is that a hotspot?
Is there? I'll be there. Where will you be? Tell me about the bajillion dollar. Like, whose house are we renting out?
You know what? I don't think we've announced it yet. So I don't think I better not break it.
It sounds like a perfect. Give us a hint at least. Come on.
I can't say it is. It is unique to the moment we're in. But I'm not sure when we're announcing.
Are we leveling up from the high expectations I have from years past?
It's gonna be cool.
Yeah,
that's all I'll say.
But then you're gonna trade into the second round, right?
Questions. You're doing your job.
I'm trying to figure. I just can't believe that you would do back-to-back first-round picks. You haven't done it since Gurley and Goff. Why?
We're picking 26, so it's kind of like do we inch back into that pick 33,
round
34,
up?
35?
Yeah. Is that what
then you kind of That's a possibility because we don't have that second round.
I don't want to see you draft in the. I love that it's your thing to not do that. I love that that's it. Does that why pick in the first round? It's so uncool.
So uncool.
So uncool. I love when you don't do that. Although last year certainly panned out. You mentioned Matthew Stafford. I like that idea that as long as you have your quarterback, you're not in a rebuild. Like, we're here at the owners' meetings, and Mike Tomlin has people 4 deep asking him about their quarterback situation. It must feel so good to have that settled. You talked about it like it was renewing your vows. What did you mean by that?
I think I meant by that when the QB and the NFL franchise partner. I mean, really, to do it right, and especially with someone like Matthew. I mean, he's in the back 9 of his career, right? This isn't his first 5 years. So if you're going to if we're going to partner, we're not just trying to finish second in the division, right? What is our goals? Key is this: we're chasing special. And there's a lot of stress and drudgery. You know what I mean? Whatever that special is, there's a lot of stress and drudgery in that. So let's try to make sure when we do partner, when we do agree on a contract, and it wasn't like his contract, it was just every year we're renegotiating what he's going to play for. And there's a little bit of friction in all those negotiations, things like. But main thing, when we partner, let's make sure we want to do this together. We want to go partner.
Is that a veteran thing, or is it just your mentality thing?
You know what? I think it was because he was a veteran. Because if Matthew was in his first, let's call it in the first 6 years of his contract, usually teams aren't trying to determine, do we move on, do we not?
Right.
Other teams really aren't trading. It's not like you're knocking on the door to trade for Josh Allen because you kind of know the answer. So, but teams were trying to see, hey, were the Rams going to continue partnering with Matthew? Were they not? So I do think because Matthew was at that stage of his career is why the process went down.
Well, partners have a say, When you're a partner with somebody, they can come knock on your door and say, this is what I want.
That's the most important thing. We should want to do this together, not have to do this together because it's a job.
What does he want? What does Matthew want?
You know what? What was really neat is I do think he wanted to be a Ram for a lot of variables. Part of that, one of the main ones, chasing special.
Yeah.
He's done a lot in this NFL.
Davante Adams is pretty special.
What is that?
Davante Adams is pretty special.
That's one of the reasons why we go through the let's call it the negotiations to work out a fair deal so that we can add pieces to the puzzle to help us chase special.
What was the first? Take me back to the first time as Sean McVay makes his way over with Artis. They're going to take that Shepherd's hook and yank you out of here. Don't take him away. What was take me back to the first time Davante Adams was mentioned?
Sean, we should bring him there
and Sean and Matthew. Did Matthew bring Davante Adams' name to you? Did Sean? Was it you? Can you take me back to the inception of that idea?
The inception of the idea probably became. I know it was probably the week of the Super Bowl. Sean was at the Super Bowl. I was rejuvenating in Hawaii. I like to call it.
Yeah, rebuilding,
and
remodeling.
Because I'm a competitor, I hate going to the Super Bowl when you're not in it. And most years you're not in it. So just think everybody's jacked about the Super Bowl. I'm miserable that week because it's like. We failed in some sense. So I'm hiding in a shell. But that was the first time, maybe the Jets were going to move on from Davante. So I know Sean and I talked during that week. Like, maybe that's especially if we continue partnering with Matthew, that'd be a nice piece of the puzzle to add.
So what was Matthew's reaction? Somebody he knows very well from the NFC North. Of course, there's an emotional attachment to Cooper Kupp. You said that this is going to take Sean McVay's offense to even a different level. He can line up everywhere. I think Davante's in his prime. There's no bigger fan than me. What was Matthew's reaction?
I think he was really, really jacked. And I know Sean likes to sit with his players, walk through, okay, if we bring Davante on, right, this is what I'm thinking. What do you think? You start thinking about chemistry of the room and how you put all the pieces together and help them work together, collaborate, and let Sean, let's call it, deploy the pieces on the chess table, and Matthew and that group's got to go execute.
Amazing. You're here with all the GMs. It's my first owners meeting. How much business actually gets done here? Les, like a ton?
You know what? There is a ton of business that gets done here, or at least it's executed here, or there's a finality to it here, especially with, let's call it, any rule changes that you're going to make to the game theory, or some of the processes that are part of it. So the competition committee plays a big part. I do think the way this is all evolved is, let's call it, by the time we get to where West Palm, wherever the annual meetings are, about 95% of the business has been put on the table. Now, there is a vote. So there is an element of when we do go vote on something major that it's similar to a Sunday. If you got to get 24 votes to pass something in that room, they haven't brought television in there yet, reality television. I do think that would be a big sale.
Oh my God,
there is some nice reality going on in that room.
Give me the pitch. We're in the pitch meeting. I'm the production company. You're trying to get me the green light. Give me a story that
just
you
like
pitch.
reality television. You may see. Let's just say there's going to be a close vote. So usually there's those that are pro, and then there's those that are not pro, dissent, against, whatever, for, against. However we're going to say this. So there's this element where, wow, all of a sudden, someone like Andy Reid or Pete Carroll, one of these pillars that we've been watching on Sundays forever, and maybe they get up and they're pitted against each other.
Ooh, I love that.
One's for, one's not, and they do a passionate debate on.
Did that happen yesterday?
And then there's that usually happens on let's call it the Tuesday morning.
Yeah, I think we need to strap a GoPro to everyone's head.
The thing is, there's some sessions where you can kind of spar before then. Get some of the real energy.
And then the majority, Tush pushes it into the end zone, and we change the rule.
That'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to hear the debate on the Tush.
Last one for you. You have to get rid of one. The Yankees bat situation or the Tush push. Which
I think here's what I would say about the Tush push. I really respect the fact that right now, it started with Philly. I mean, I wonder if it started with Malaga bringing that scrum from rugby over here. And the Bills. Point being is they came up with something really, really hard to stop. The only reason we should get rid of the Tush push is if there is data that it puts players in, let's call it, more harm than normal. And I do think at that point, you have to think long term.
Artist is yanking ya. Famous artist Twyman.
We were rolling Artist.
Who else are you talking to, Les? Come on now.
You know what? Artist has a nice schedule.
Yeah, I know. He's yanking.
It won't be as fun as this one,
I appreciate you. I appreciate you so much. You got to work on renewing your vows with Puka, who said he'd retire at 30. I don't like hearing that.
Wow, you know what? They're like these Gen Z's, like rock stars now. You know what? They one hit and let's retire.
Amazing. Great to see you. I hope to be part of the reality show tonight here. It's my first owner meeting, but I feel like,
I can't believe
I'm going to come spice it up.
I mean, you've worked, you did a television show with the NFL.
I never get to go in the field. Why wouldn't I want to melt like a snowman out here? Why not, McVay's over there. Go bother McVay and Florio.